I'm not perfect. No one's perfect.
In this episode of my podcast, Relentless Life on Your Terms, Season 3, I sit down with fellow Cub member Lawrence Furlan, who's been an entrepreneur for almost 10 years. And his latest venture, Conversion Digital, which is almost 5 years young, we talk about how he scaled his business from one person to over 70 and in over 3 countries, the importance of digital, mindset, and some great tips for all you entrepreneurs out there. Keen to hear your thoughts. Leave your comments below. Thank you. And welcome to another episode of Relentless Life on Your Terms. I'm joined with a friend of mine and fellow Cub member, Lawrence Furlan. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thanks for joining us.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
Now, an entrepreneur for almost a decade, started a company which is about to celebrate its 5th birthday. Congratulations. Not many companies reach that milestone in October, called Conversion Digital.
Yep.
Tell us a bit about it.
Yeah, Conversion Digital. We're a digital transformation agency based here in Melbourne. Currently got around 70 staff across 3 countries. So specialise in 2 parts.
South Africa?
South Africa, India and Australia.
Yep.
Specialise in sort of 2 areas of digital, one being our development house. So anything from high-end web development, high-end app development, software development. We do some resource-driven stuff as well. And then we have our digital marketing side, so SEO, SEM, social media, content marketing. We really focus on the customer experience on that side of the business, so really like pre-sale, during sale, post-sale, and what that looks like, which is really important at the moment for the viewers to understand that post-COVID, customer experience is where you should be looking, like really understand what your digital assets are pre-sale and how you're driving them to a website, and then how easy is it for them to engage and how easy is them to become a lead or convert to a sale on your website. And then what are you doing digitally post-sale? So that's
basically the full process. So mapping out the journey and identifying how you can strengthen it.
Absolutely.
And COVID's actually, I've had this conversation with quite a few people. COVID's probably, I feel, pushed the landscape 5-10 years forward digitally in terms of Zoom, in terms of people's acceptance of online. Yeah. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely agree. And what we noticed last year was everyone in Australia, the world, but Australia especially, were forced to go online, right? There was probably still 30 to 40% of the population that were still shopping in shops and going to that bricks and mortar, but they were forced to go online and then figured out, wow, this is pretty easy, right? So it's pretty easy. Now, what we're focusing on with our clients is how do we build out that customer experience to create the service-orientated online that you would normally get in store. It's not easy, but we're getting there.
Now, I'm going to say a big shout out. You said before this was one of your first podcasts.
It is. It is not one of. It is the first podcast. It is the
first cast, so you heard it here on Relentless. So I'm absolutely honoured to have you. And as we first met at Cub, which is a networking place that we go to in Melbourne. I know it's nationwide, and I met some great people, so thanks for being here.
No worries.
And let me ask you, you've ran businesses for almost a decade, as we've mentioned. You've started now Conversion Digital. What are some of the biggest challenges you've faced in your business?
Oh, really, really interesting question. There's been so many. I suppose initially is one, taking that step, right, and getting rid of the fear. Backing yourself, getting rid of the fear of failure, and really having a crack. Because no matter what in business, you know you're going to fail, right? And if you can embrace that, you tend to move forward. But one of the hardest challenges we face is the growth was quite significant for us over a period of time. So it's about and it was really hard for us to go, we need the resources internally to deliver on that growth, and that was really difficult to find the right people at the right time.
So you mean having the back-end system to support the front end?
The growth,
because, to be honest, great challenge to have first and foremost, to grow that quickly that your back-end supports, but obviously you don't know what you don't know in business, and as you're growing, and it's no mean feat to have over 70 people across 3 countries, but what do? You got to roll with the punches and figure it out.
Not only that, get the right people. Right, you got to get the right people in the right management places within the organisation at the right time that know more about their section of the business than you do, and give them control.
And how do you do that?
Well, we run a very flat structure as an organisation.
What does that mean?
My business partner and I we allow the other people that are in senior management roles to run the business and run their section, and they do it bloody well, right? And without that, like if you're running everything on your own, you'd go crazy. Like it's just not sustainable.
Not many people allow that aspect of control, because I always say, Steve Jobs said it, I believe it was Steve Jobs that said, why would you hire someone smart and tell them what to do? Yeah. So having that structure to allow someone to grow is so important in any culture, because I feel if you micromanage or you're a control freak, you're only one person.
Exactly.
But I've had this discussion, if you operate at 100%, which I don't think anyone does, but let's say you do, 1 times 100% is 100%.
Yep.
If you've got 5 people earning 80%, that's 400%.
Yeah.
Because you can actually leverage your skills, your assets, your time frame. So it's always so important. But a lot of people don't have that level of
understanding.
But also being able to pick the right person in the right spots, because it can go the other way as well. It's not always good.
Absolutely. And I suppose what I knew really, and it was hard, it was really hard. What I learnt really quickly is I'm not perfect. No one's perfect, right? And there's areas in business that I don't know about, I'm not good at, or I'm weak in, right? It's about finding the people within the organisation that fit those areas and make them strong.
But you're conscious about it to know that's a sign of emotional intelligence, obviously,
Yep.
and that's the reason you've scaled your business, which is huge.
Yep.
Well, now, being that you've started quite a few companies, what advice could you give our listeners on starting a new business? Now, you've mentioned having the right people at the right time in the right positions. I'm about to start a business. I don't have much of experience. What are some of the key things at the start? The pros and cons, so to speak.
To sort of quote Nike here, just do it, right? Like, there is a massive risk in starting a business. You personally know, and everyone knows that. And I think that's what holds people back is they look at what potentially could happen, and what the negatives aspect. And I think I live life in a way that I focus on every positive and focus on that specifically, regardless of the situation. And if you focus on the positives in business, you'll succeed, right? Don't worry about the negatives and just have a crack, right? Don't be scared of failure.
So roll with the punches. So like we just heard that little noise there, we're going to continue. So sorry for that startled, yeah?
No worries. And that's it. Just try it. And again, and it may not be, get some people around you that can be mentors, right? Get some people around that have been in business that you can learn off, that you can lean on and you can talk to, because I think that's also a really important part of business is having people to be able to bounce the good and bad off. Because if you're doing it all on alone, you're going to hold it in and it's going to be really difficult for you.
And I always say this to mentors and coaches, because I guess we can use both terminologies, is so important. But finding the right mentor and coach is vital. When I say right, in my definition of right is having a proven track record that understands the industry that you're in, that also, understands the compliance, the regulation, how to scale a business. Because if they know the pitfalls of a business, they're probably going to make your journey a lot faster, save you money, save you heartache. But also, I know in business sometimes it's lonely. Having someone to bounce your ideas off is always such a good thing. I've found anyway, my 16 years running my businesses.
Great advice. And the other thing too is don't underestimate the power of sales and marketing, right? So many people I see in startups will create an amazing product, will create an amazing service, but don't think about their marketing sales strategy. Because without it, you're not selling anything.
It's funny you say that, but sales and marketing, I think, is without a question the most important part in any business.
Absolutely.
You can have the best product, the best everything. If you can't sell or you can't market, and we said it before, this best known beats best. But obviously, I like to be both. Now, what advice would you give your younger self, Lawrence?
Get your head out of your ass and don't think you're as good as you are. I suppose that was one thing when I was younger, and I sort of was a little bit different to what I am now. And I think it was when I had kids I realised what's really important in life, and sort of really have a crack early, right?
I guess things change, don't they, when you have kids?
Absolutely. And
if you don't mind me sharing, you've got 2 kids.
I got 2 kids, 2 boys, a 10-year-old and a 6-year-old, and they're my absolute world. And sort of really being a leader for them is probably the most important thing that it's helped me be more successful in business as well. And to my younger self is just start reading, start investigating rather than waiting, right? And I waited probably too long, so.
Well, look, you haven't done too bad. You've been fantastic young, but a good entrepreneur is always critical and hard on himself, so that's always a good sign. Who were some people, as a youngster, who were some mentors, some people looked up to, some books you read? What gave you inspiration? Did you know you were going to be an entrepreneur, business owner at a young age?
Entrepreneur is an interesting word. Like I've never really worked for a boss. I tried it a couple of times and it didn't really work out. So I knew pretty quickly that I was going to, at one way or another, I was going to work for myself. So sort of just dabbled in a few different things and then really moved from there, and that's really about it.
Was there any particular one that you looked up to, you idolised or learned from, whether it be a book, whether it be in person?
Not necessarily. Like Richard Branson, I read a lot of his books, but that was really, really about it. And I just sort of focused on myself and really, really pushed it.
Look, I don't know if I've mentioned, I was very fortunate a couple of years ago, I met Richard Branson. I
Yep.
was invited to Necker Island, had a lunch and a breakfast with him one-on-one. There was 20 people on the island. It was an amazing experience.
Would have been.
And you know, some people you meet and you think they're exactly what you think they'll be.
Yep.
He was one of those people. So you'd think he'd be philanthropic, he'd be nice, he'd be good with people. And I saw the way he interacted with his team.
Yep.
And it was the image that I had of him was exactly what he portrayed to me.
Yeah.
He's either the best salesman on this planet or universe, or that's exactly him, or
well,
both.
About him, like, what got me about him was that he just didn't care about failure.
Or the status quo.
The
He was
status
very
quo, he
different.
just didn't care. If he failed, he just got up and did it again. And I think that's how I've sort of lived my life to date, is just have a crack. And if it doesn't work, we figure out a way how to make it work. So.
Now, how long does it take? I know this is a left field question,
Yeah.
but I have to ask, since you're the digital guy. Now, for my tech people out there, this is for you because this is foreign language to me. How long does it take to build an app?
Oh, good question. Look, building an app is, where do you start? So it could take 6 weeks, it could take 6 months, it could take 12 months. It all depends on the technology used. Is it multi-platform? What are you trying to achieve? So what I would say to the viewers is, if you're thinking about doing an app, like, we get lots of people coming with an idea, but then we track that back to understand how to build that idea.
So you
out,
stress
and
test
it's
it.
Huge.
You stress test it.
Yeah, we do. And I suppose do your research first and really understand the technical aspect of the application you're trying to achieve. It's all good starting on the end goal, but you need to work back. So apps can take a long time, and there's probably a misconception around cost around applications as well.
What do you mean?
But they're a lot higher than you expect, right? Building a website, it's one platform, and then we optimize it to suit multiple different browsers, right?
Yeah.
Mobile, tablet.
course.
Whereas with an application, you've got iOS and you've got Android. Now with Android, I think to date there's 26, 27 different operating systems that you've got to build it on. Now,
my God.
you've got to build each individual one.
But surely things are becoming more prevalent now as technology is becoming more advanced, people are becoming more aware. So back in the day, you used to get charged for mobile optimization,
Yep.
stuff like that. Now that's just standard.
Standard, yeah. Oh, absolutely, you're correct. There's also platforms you can build off now as well to make it a little bit easier. But building an app, you just need to understand what you're actually trying to achieve and what the technology stack needs to be behind it.
So basically, in summary, if I'm correct, reverse engineer the outcome, what you need. It's how long is a piece of string question, so it depends on what you're looking at, and you should stress test it before you even go into that idea.
Absolutely, like, you know housing very well, like building a house. If you don't build a house with plans, you're going to struggle to deliver that house to exactly how you want it to be.
And the advice you gave is very structured. If I'm going to use the example of building a house,
Yep.
you've got to obviously have the components like making the cape. You also got to put them in order.
Yep.
You got to put the slab. You got to put the
Absolutely.
frame. You got to put if you do it in
Foundations
the
have
wrong
gotta go
order, yeah.
down, all of that.
If you don't do it in sequential order,
well, technology is the same, right?
Yeah.
If you don't have a plan, like, you can't build something if you don't have that plan in place. That complete scope of work that identifies every aspect of what you're trying to achieve.
okay. So here's a question that I'd like to know. So that now, apps, websites, do you need both? Is one more important than the other? If you're going to have one, what would you have?
This is only my opinion. Look, it depends on what you're trying to do.
Sales
I
and grow
think
your
you can,
business.
with how websites have evolved, I don't necessarily think you need an application as well as a really solid website.
Because website acts as an app, is that what you're saying?
Well, there's a thing called PWA, right, which allows you to build the same technology through a web platform that you do on an app. Yeah.
What does that stand
for?
PWA?
It's a web application,
Yeah.
so it's basically just a version of an application that gives you the same features and functions, but it's built on web.
So is it like an amalgamation of a website and an app?
Yeah, instead of being 100K, it's 10K.
Wow.
Yeah, definitely worth looking at. Magento does it, Shopify's looking at doing it, a lot of the platforms are now utilising it, so it just gives you a better mobile experience, and that's why apps were so big back in the days, because they gave you a better customer experience on a handheld device. Now with progressive web applications, you can definitely get that same experience, so I don't necessarily think you need both, but in some circumstances you do.
So basically, in essence, websites evolve that much, and Apple's use different things. You can just amalgamate the two.
Yeah, definitely.
In most cases.
In
as
most
you're saying.
cases.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, being a business owner, an entrepreneur, how important do you actually think towards your success mindset was or is in general?
Oh, huge. Mindset, and look, I think it's different for everyone. Mindset to me sort of comes in sort of two forms. It's about focus, right? It's about finding what it is that you want want to focus on, and really diving into that. And it could be business related, it could be personal, it could be whatever it is, and focusing on that particular component. And then it's about control. Now, I learnt pretty quickly that in the last sort of 10 years that outside, everything except for yourself is pretty much outside of your control. You can't control what other people do or anything like that. So what you can control is your thoughts, your actions, and the way you speak, right? And I think that is very, very important in business, is really to understand your thoughts, understand your actions, and because that's what will create a positive mindset.
I love saying that because I know I used to say during COVID, after COVID, I always say, you can only control how you respond to certain events.
Yep.
You can't control certain events, so why worry about them?
Yeah.
Focus on here, not there.
Absolutely.
I say that all the time. Well, as it's come time for our quick fire questions, Lawrence, are you ready?
Oh, sure.
All right. Now, what was your first job?
My first job was selling residential offices and door knocking to sell them.
Funny enough, it's in an office next door
next
that
door.
I've got,
Yep.
1 Queen's Road,
Yeah.
which I share a new office that I'm about to get now with my business partner, Chris. Now, do you have a hidden talent?
Hidden talent? Not really. Not a bad basketballer. Is that hidden?
Well, not anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
If you could spend one day with anyone, who would it be?
Uh,
and why?
So this is probably a little bit deep, but if I could spend one day with anyone, it'd be my sister. She passed away when I was 16. We had an extremely close relationship, and I would love nothing more than for her to be in my life again.
Well, hopefully one day
Yep.
you will be reunited. Now, what's one of your favourite memories?
The birth of my children. It'd have to be. Probably both of them were amazing.
So shouldn't ask, but I have to. Do you have a favourite?
No,
Okay.
on camera.
He's good. He's good. What does success mean to you?
Success means balance, right? Like having a work-life balance, being
What's
able. So having yeah, well, exactly right. Success to me is just being happy, enjoying life with my kids, having great culture within my organisation, and and also helping businesses achieve what they want to achieve.
Where is your happy place besides here?
Good question. Probably the gym, right? I'd throw my headphones on and go to the gym and just spend an hour without any distractions, and I would probably say it's my happy place.
I'd love to say that. That's a great answer. What are you afraid of?
What am I afraid of? That's a really great question as well. Probably just, I don't know. Probably it's got to do with my kids and them not growing up to be the men that I know they can be. So,
Well, if you're leading them, I'm sure there will
Yep.
be, Lawrence. How many countries have you been to?
about 6.
What's your favourite song?
My favourite song would be "Painted Black" by the Rolling Stones.
Who do you admire the most?
Who do I admire the most? Probably, I would say, my mum. Yeah, she's probably lived a pretty hard life, and she's got through it, and she's still around, and she's does a good job every day.
You
so.
mentioned a lot of women in your life, your sister, your mum, so that's a really
Yeah.
nice thing.
Yep.
Now, you've shared a lot of great information with myself and our listeners, our audience. Give me 2-3 key takeaways that you want them to take from this podcast.
On a digital point of view, I would really stress for anyone that's out there that's looking at their current website or current situation and digital, because the landscape's pretty full on, is really go back and look at your customer experience, right? Really understand what your experience is from start to finish. So that's pre-sale, that's across all of those really strong digital assets. That's the experience on your website. How are you converting? Are you making it easy for them? And then what's your follow-up, right? Retention is arguably one of the best ways to drive business, right? Is that if you've got them as a sale, how do you follow up and get them to buy more?
6 times cheaper and more effective to keep
Absolutely.
an existing client to resell to than get a new one. You know what? Why not do both?
And people stop, right? People get a sale and think, big tick next to their name and
That's
say happy
where it
days.
begins,
And
though, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then
Second, ROI is a lot greater because you've already got the client. But secondly, you want to deliver on a
Yeah.
promise. It's our job as professionals. One more. Give me one more.
One more is, if you're starting a business or you're getting into business, really find that one thing that you can take away from it, even if it's an hour a day, right? I know how hard it is starting a business. I know how many hours you put in, but find that balance, find that one thing, whether it be your children, your family, whether it be the gym, whether it be yoga, whatever it might be, but just find that one thing.
So the you time?
That's the you time. right? And do it daily.
My friend's got a poster up on his wall that says, an entrepreneur, someone that doesn't work for someone 38 hours so he can work 80 hours a week for himself.
Yeah.
Last thing, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much have you enjoyed this podcast?
Oh, it's got to be a 10, mate.
Thank you very much, Lawrence, for your time. It's been a pleasure.
No worries. Thank you.